morning, everyone. We are getting ready for the holidays. Holiday baking, holiday cooking. So today I'm going to do a Christmas dessert collaboration with my good friend Glow. I've known Glow for 2 years, just a little after I started my channel, and we cook a lot alike. And she has a really good channel if you want to hop over there and see what she's doing today. So I'm going to make a dessert that my mom made in the 1970s when I was growing up, and it's called Pudding Delight. But when I went online to look for it, I couldn't find it because it's called Chocolate Delight. That's what everyone calls it, but my mother's name was Pudding Delight. So I have her recipe book that I have had for many years that she gave me when she started her new cookbook. And I'm going to use her recipe. So I do say that it's a 8x8. First, I didn't realize my mom does have the measurements, and it's a 9x13, but for some reason my crust wouldn't fit in that. I made it maybe thicker, but you can use either type of pan, a 9x3 or an 8x8. And I used an 8x8 because that was my memory of what my mom used. But her recipe does say a 9x13, which I went back and found. So I hope you enjoy this recipe, and I hope you go over to Glow's Kindred Kitchen, and I will have her channel in my description. Thank you everyone for watching. So these are all the ingredients you're going to use. It's 4 layers. And you're going to have a 9x13 pan, and you don't need to grease it because your bottom layer is going to have butter in it. You're going to use whipping cream, milk, pecans, or walnuts, 2 packages of 3.9-ounce instant chocolate pudding, an 8-ounce cream cheese. You're going to have powdered sugar, flour, and butter. The first thing you want to do is grind your nuts. So I have a grinder, and I'm just going to grind 1 cup of chopped nuts. To make the bottom crust, you're going to put your flour and your chopped up butter in small cubes in a bowl. And you can use a pastry blender like this, but I actually think it works better to use your hand. So I'm going to put some gloves on, which my mother never did when she made this, but it's going to be easier for me to kind of, what you're going to do is you're going to mash this flour with your hands, you know, and that way it will hold better together. These pastry cutters are nice, but what you want to do is bring this all together with your hands, and then you're going to add the pecans. So once you keep mixing it, it will hold together. Okay, this is how you want it. When you squeeze it together, it holds, and then you can add your 1 cup of nuts in. I'm using pecans, but you could use walnuts too. And then you're just going to keep mixing it together, and when you press it in the pan, you just keep pushing down and it will all stick together like it's doing right now. So I'm going to finish doing this, and then we're going to put this in the pan and press it down. Okay, one thing I did discover is that my mother's recipe has a little less ingredients than the ones online. The one online calls for 1.5 cups of flour and a few other different variations. Well, my mother's, she doesn't say on her recipe what size pan, but I do recall it was a square one. So I'm putting this in an 8x8 pan because it's not going to fit in the 9x13. So I haven't made this in many, many years. So I now remember that. So the recipe I'm going to give you is my mom's recipe, and that's going to be baked for 20 to 25 minutes in a 350-degree Fahrenheit oven. We'll see you in about 25 minutes. The next step is you're going to take 1 8-ounce block of softened cream cheese, and this takes a few hours to actually soften it. And you're going to mix this, cream it together with your 1/2 cup of powdered sugar, and I definitely use a mixer for this. So I will see you as soon as I'm done with this part. You can use a stand mixer or a hand mixer, and you want to beat this till it's fluffy and creamy. And that's about it. So that's creamy and fluffy. So this recipe, my mother always used Cool Whip, and that's what most people use, but I'm making my own whipped cream. You can do whichever you prefer, and I'm going to use a teaspoon of instant clear gel. and a teaspoon of powdered sugar to sweeten it. And we're going to mix this till there's high peaks, just like you would any whipped cream. All right, 1 teaspoon of powdered sugar, and I'm going to take a teaspoon of clear gel, and this will stiffen it so it won't melt when the whole layered dessert is put together. Here are your two mixtures. This is your cream cheese and powdered sugar, and this is your whipped topping or your whipped cream. So I'm just going to fold the whipped cream or your Cool Whip, whatever you're using, into the other mixture, and we're going to blend it with a spatula. And that will be your second layer. The third layer, which I'm going to show you in a minute, is the easiest of all. So we're just going to blend this together, fold it in with a spatula. Now, when you take your crust out of the oven, you're going to have to cool it before you put this on. So I'm going to put this in the refrigerator, but I'm doing this ahead of time so it'll all be ready. So I'm going to refrigerate. For the third layer, we're going to take our 2 packages of chocolate instant pudding. It has to be instant. And you're going to mix it with a hand mixer and 3 cups of milk for 2 minutes. And that will thicken it exactly how you want it to be. It takes right about 2 minutes to do that. So what I'm going to do after I pour this milk in is I'm going to use my hand mixer and go with 2 minutes to mix this together so it thickens just how you want it. Okay, this is baked 23 minutes. So it's done. You can look at the edges and see how they're brown. Now we're going to let this cool, I would say a good hour. Okay, now you want to mix this for 2 minutes. Okay, it's almost there. That's how you want it. Okay, this is how you want it, nice and thick like pudding. So now I'm going to refrigerate this as well until the crust is cool. Now it's time to assemble this. So this is our first layer, your cookie crust, and the second layer is going to be your whipped cream and cream cheese layer. So you want to take it out of the refrigerator, and we're going to spread this evenly over the cookie crust or shortbread crust. This is our second layer, and of course it has to be cool so it doesn't melt. So you want to spread this evenly, real smoothly. And then what we're going to do is add our third layer, which is the chocolate pudding. So I think that's pretty smooth. Okay. And this is our third layer, our chocolate pudding. So like I said earlier, the recipes online, they call for a 9x13 pan, but they also use a 1.5 cups of flour, and they use more powdered sugar. Everything's more. And if I had put that in a 9x13 pan, which I attempted to do, it only fills half the pan. So I'm using my mom's recipe. The one online does use the same amount of pudding now. So anyway, now what we're going to do is add one more layer of whipped cream. Now the Cool Whip container, if you use that, you're going to use 1 cup of it in the second layer, and then you're going to have leftover. But since I'm not using Cool Whip, I'm going to have to take like a cup of whipped cream and whip some more cream for the last layer. Okay, so this is our last layer, our fourth layer. So you're going to take your Cool Whip, what's left of your Cool Whip container, or your homemade whipping cream like what I did. I basically just get a carton of cream, whip it till the peaks are stiff, and then I add my powdered sugar for sweetness, and I use my modified food starch, which is made from corn, and it's what the bakeries use when they make a whipped cream frosting, you know, and it won't go flat over time. It'll last about 3 days, and honestly, I don't think this dessert will last longer than 3 days. I do have a trick where I just use powdered sugar, and that works too, but for something like this, I'm using the modified food starch. It works really well. So here is our pudding delight or chocolate delight, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to refrigerate this for a minimum of 2 hours, and I will see you back in a couple hours. And we'll taste. Forget one thing. Now, there are different garnishes that you can use, like some people use shaved chocolate. My mom just put nuts on top. My mom always used walnuts, but I always use pecans because I really love pecans better. So you can, garnish it with whatever you want. You can do cocoa powder, you can do shaved chocolate, or chopped nuts like I'm doing. And I think this is perfect. So we'll now see you in about 2 hours. Okay, we're ready to take a slice. And this has been in the refrigerator just under 2 hours. But you want to make sure it is 2 hours. So we're going to cut a slice and we're going to taste it. Yummy. This is so good. I remember when my mom made this the very first time. I remember thinking, what an amazing, delicious dessert. It was just like so many flavors and so many layers. This is really good. And I haven't made it in many, many years. But it is one of those desserts that you never forget because it's just literally layered with lusciousness. So anyway, I hope you give this a try. It's a 1970s dessert. And it's really, really good. It's one of those keeper recipes. So below my video, you will see a link to Glow's channel. So hop on over there and see what she's cooked up. So thanks everyone for watching. I hope you give this a try. And I hope everyone has a really nice holiday. Thank you.